This is a very rewarding time to be associated with the Voice of America. I am particularly proud of the contribution that VOA broadcasts have made to changes taking place around the world, in Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union, Southern Africa, Latin America. Looking at all of these historic events, it seems to me that we're witnessing, as we never have before, the power of information, the power of ideas. As this democratization continues, ordinary citizens will be making decisions that affect their country's policies. It is so important that they understand America, that VOA continue to tell them about Americans, how we live, what we believe in, how our political, our economic, and social institutions work. Getting radio signals to VOA target audiences is an equally important task. While shortwave and medium wave are VOA's principal means of transmission, well, we're also looking to the future at advances like digital radio, direct broadcasting by satellites. We expect to make full use of all of these technologies once they become viable. However, most authorities believe that shortwave is going to be essential well into the next century. Other major international broadcasters, the British, the Japanese, the French, they all agree they're continuing to build new shortwave facilities around the world. Shortwave is also darn cheap. It costs VOA less than 2 cents a week for every one of our 130 million regular listeners. Whatever the method of transmission, reaching VOA listeners takes the intelligence, the skill, the commitment of highly trained men and women to get the job done.
This is the Voice of America, Washington, D.C.
Dawn.
Signing on.
Radio signals from the Voice of America, carrying Hindi to South Asia, Spanish to Latin America, Arabic to the Middle East, Russian to the Soviet Union, Swahili to East Africa, Mandarin to China, French to Africa, English to the world. News and information in more than 40 languages, delivered instantaneously, unchecked by national borders, reaching millions every hour, every day. This is the story of how VOA gets its broadcasts to listeners on every continent. A story of powerful radio transmitters, of giant relay stations, of antennas, of satellites. A story told by engineers and technicians who operate America's global radio network.
This is the Voice of America, Washington, D.C.
Stand by, please. Stand by, mic 3. Ready, cart 1.
And here is the news from the Voice of America.
Roll it. Stand by, mic 3. Give mic.
At the VOA, we're concerned with worldwide communication. I'm here to ensure that the audio is clear, that it is clean. So they want the quality at this side to be as nearly optimum as possible. I work with microphones, the telephone systems, satellite links. On a remote basis, we bring in correspondents from anywhere.
Master control is sort of like a traffic jam on the freeway at rush hour, with 150 lanes of audio traffic coming into master control, being funneled down to 100 lanes of audio traffic leaving master control. That audio traffic includes the 50 studios from which the air shows are done, our correspondent locations around town and around the world. It all comes in on one side of the room, through the switcher right here, leaves the switcher, feeds the output side of the room, which in turn feeds the network control center, which is responsible for making sure the programs get on the proper satellite channels for distribution to the transmitter sites around the world.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
This is Voice of America Network Control Center. This facility is responsible for the delivery of all VOA's programming.
For the Botswana, you have a vertical of 140.
We use satellite communications, telephone communications, microwave communications, T1 communications, fiber optics communications. Just about every form of communications developed by man to date is used by this facility to get the programs delivered to our relay stations in the United States and overseas. We transmit a point-to-multipoint system from here, 30 channels to the sky. The prime receiver of those channels is the Greenville Relay Station.
The Greenville Relay Station is America's largest broadcasting facility. The purpose of the station is to take the broadcasts that originate in the Washington, D.C. studios of Voice of America and send them to our overseas listeners in the areas of Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. To kind of compare it with a domestic radio station, typically a domestic radio station has one program, one transmitter. The Greenville Relay Station has 22 transmitters, 73 separate antennas, and simultaneously sends programs, all of which are destined overseas. Now these transmitters, 10 of these transmitters, for instance, are 1/2 million watt units, which is 10 times the power of the most powerful domestic commercial transmitters.
This is one of the Voice of America's newest transmitters. This is a Marconi 500,000 watt shortwave transmitter. Actually, it's like two large cabinets with a hallway between them where we can get to the different doors to get into the different components of the transmitter when we have to maintain it. This section, this is where the 500,000 watts of radio frequency power is generated. It's done with only 2 tubes. It can be on any of the frequencies within the shortwave band also. The tuning and all of the mechanisms that are used with the generation of the power are in that cabinet. In this cabinet, we have the tubes that put the program on this radio signal. The method of doing this is the latest state-of-the-art method called pulse width modulation. It has been incorporated in these transmitters because of the tremendous power savings that we can realize by using this type of modulation. Up front, we have the control section. We have microprocessors, we have transistors and integrated circuits. All of this is state-of-the-art. We have memory storage for the different control functions, and the metering is done at this point. So what we have here is probably one of the very most state-of-the-art transmitters around.
The advantages of shortwave radio are that you can broadcast very long distances with it. The problem that you have with the kind of radio that we in the United States are generally familiar with and listen to, such as FM and AM, are only short distance kinds of broadcasting. Shortwave, on the other hand, is broadcast by using the reflection of your wave from the ionosphere. So basically you're beaming your wave up and reflecting it off the ionosphere, and it can come down maybe 1,000 kilometers or more away from where your broadcast station is. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't only have to come down one time, the phenomena is indeed repeated. You do indeed get a reflection once the signal comes down the first time, and you get it bouncing off the ionosphere a second, and a third, and even more times. So it's not uncommon using shortwave radio to really get tens, potentially, of thousands of kilometers distance.
It's much like being an artillery officer, because I have to figure the trajectory of the radio signal as it goes up 300 kilometers above our Earth and reflects back to the location where I want to be heard. If I calculate my angles wrong, I will either come too close or too far. And how HF radio really works is the design of an antenna that is like an artillery piece that fires the energy at the correct frequency and the correct angle to go into the ionosphere.
It would be very simple if the ionosphere were a nice, smooth, reflecting surface like a mirror, for example, but it's not. And this complicates our life considerably because it's a statistical process in the sense that the ionosphere changes continually from day to night, from season to season, and even on a much longer 11-year type of cycle.
The solar energy that creates the ionosphere is primarily in the ultraviolet bands. And this energy that comes from the sun is primarily from small spots. Actually, they're not small. They're even larger than the diameter of the Earth. The Earth could drop into these spots on the sun. The sun actually has other phenomenon that are associated particularly with the sunspots. And these are gigantic eruptions of energy called solar flares. Huge amounts of gaseous material will loop out from the sun's surface thousands of miles. With this occurrence, vast amounts of X-ray energy and gamma ray energy are released. And when that happens, we lose the ionosphere, so that for the time that X-ray energy is coming from a flare and is striking the Earth, no shortwave radio broadcast can occur on the daylight side of the Earth. It completely blocks all bands.
Going through this amorphous mass that's changing from moment to moment, from day to night, sometimes being there and sometimes not even being there, it makes the problem of delivering an HF signal, a high frequency or a shortwave signal, to a target audience very difficult.
By our work through predictions and modeling, we should be able to deliver a better quality signal, meaning it's stronger and you can hear it more often.
We need to select the best antenna, the best direction for the antenna to point, and the best location for an antenna to be to get our signal. And we want them to get a good, strong signal that, you know, it doesn't go in and out, it doesn't fade, and there's not a lot of static on it. So we have a map here. Now, what's yellow on here is what we try to design to, and what we consider here yellow is a good signal.
Yeah, you'll hear some very light static in the background and a fade or two, but it's a very good high-quality signal, what you typically hear on a shortwave radio.
Right, and if we're trying to hit an area, we want it to be yellow. And the green is what we consider our secondary level of signal, and that's a little less than yellow. It's got more static, you can't hear it as well, and the music doesn't sound very good on green.
And tend to lose words from time to time, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then red is a very strong signal. It's almost like listening to an AM or FM radio.
Perhaps two of the biggest aids that come to my mind to help people try and increase their enjoyment of shortwave listening would be, number one, the use of an outside antenna. In many parts of the world, people live in apartment buildings. These apartment buildings tend to be made of concrete and steel construction. This kind of construction is actually like a shield around the radio. Shortwave radio has to be out in the air, and it's not practical to put the radio outside, so put the antenna outside. The other hint would be just very carefully tuning the radio. And this is the tuning knob on this particular radio. You have to be patient in tuning this. It's not an easy, rough process. It must be done very slowly and very, very carefully. Because remember that the shortwave stations seem to be very close together. In fact, they are close together. And it takes a very gentle hand on the knob to separate them properly.
Hi, my name's Charles Oakley. This is my brother-in-law, Roy Briley. We are riggers here at Voice of America in Greenville. I've been here about 11 and a half years as a rigger. Roy here has been here longer than I. How long have you been here, Roy?
17 years.
17 years. We both were in towers before we come to work here. I enjoy working at Voice of America very much. I enjoy being outside. I enjoy the challenge of tower work.
The main type thing that we do here is a preventive maintenance schedule. We try to do preventive maintenance. We do have emergencies, ice storms, rain causes some problems, and broke insulators and different things, but basically we do our work on a once-a-year maintenance schedule. The big thing with our climbing here, though, is safety. We do get in some pretty bad spots at times, pretty bad shape.
That can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. We look out for each other. We are checking for broken insulators, arcs in the curtain itself, rusted cotter pins. We change out rusted cotter pins every time we see one, every now and then.
Basically, the work's good and you can really enjoy it as long as you take your time and be safe with the thing. So I reckon I better get on and do what I got to do before they won't bring this one up. I think this antenna comes up very shortly.
The VOA mission is so broad, so complex, that we need these program schedules in order to ensure that each language has adequate facilities to be heard by its designated target audience. For instance, here's a program schedule for one of our stations in North Carolina. And for each time period of the day, you can tell what each transmitter is doing. But more importantly, it tells the station staff when to turn on the transmitters. It tells them which frequency to use. It tells them which antenna. And more importantly, it tells them which program to put on that transmitter.
For example, if I want transmitter number 4 be coming up on antenna 25, I would punch in antenna 25 and bring the antenna up on that transmitter. And at this point here, my transmitter is ready for an antenna. And we want to make sure that our technicians on the floor, which we rotate, has the correct frequency, and that transmitter also has the correct antenna. So when we start programming, we would want to make sure that that particular language is going through that transmitter. And we would monitor when the program time comes up, the sign-on time comes up, then we would listen to that particular program, making sure that if it's in Spanish or English or Arabic, then we would want that particular program to go to that country.
I'm tuning one of the Voice of America's 250,000 watt transmitters. This is a very powerful transmitter, approximately 5 times the power of the average transmitter that's in operation in North America. It's a very complicated machine and requires a great number of adjustments so that it be tuned properly. Once I've tuned the transmitter for its maximum output, I have assured myself that the power will be sent to the antenna most efficiently, and that ultimately the listener will receive the strongest possible signal.
While Greenville's transmitters broadcast directly to listeners in the Caribbean, Latin America, and Africa, its satellite ground station passes Washington-originated programs on to VOA relay stations overseas. Stations that, in turn, transmit the programs via shortwave or medium wave to audiences in other parts of the world.
We use an Intelsat satellite that's located about 20 degrees west of Greenwich, England, over the equator. It's a geosynchronous satellite, which means that with respect to the Earth, it appears to stay in the same spot. We use one satellite over the Atlantic Ocean. One of the beams down from the satellite covers Africa and Europe, and another covers North and South America. There's also an Indian Ocean gateway site in England that rebroadcasts the programs from here back up to an Indian Ocean satellite that covers the Far East.
Las temperaturas en otras ciudades de los Estados
This site here in Greenville is a gateway to the world for Voice of America.
Hello and welcome
the
to
VOA
the Voice
Relay
of
Station
America
Network
magazine show
consists
in
of 15 stations around the world. They're situated around the world as necessary to reach the various language areas that we're trying to reach, the 43 Voice of America language areas. These stations are operated by 1,000 people. They operate on a schedule that 935 times a day bring a transmitter up and turn it off into a given language area. You may have heard of our success in China. That is largely attributable to the contribution of the Philippines relay station to that schedule. Another area of great interest right now are the Baltic states and Eastern Europe. The Morocco station is one of the stations that broadcasts into this area for us and provides important transmissions to that area.
Ktoré bezpečnostné orgány zadržali počas nedávnych nepokojov v krajine. Mladší brat popraveného rumunského diktátora Nikolaj Čaušeska, Andruta, bol dnes odsúdený na 15 rokov odňatia slobody za genocídu a masovú vraždu. Arabský svet je rozlúčený.
The thing that makes Morocco unique is the people, the ethnic differences that you have here. My major responsibilities as a station manager are to get the signal into the target area in a reliable, quality manner, and making sure that the timing and the signal strength is what it should be to give our listeners the best quality signal we can. We do this on a 24-hour-a-day basis, 7 days a week.
The master of the memo is here. Cancellation is here. We resume normal operation on Tanger 8.
Can we go top of this?
The Morocco station has 10 antiquated transmitters, very hard to obtain parts for, very inefficient transmitters, very low power. We have antennas of a very old design. We have great difficulty competing with the other major broadcasters with their newer and more powerful equipment. So for this reason, we have a construction project to build a new station in Morocco that will service this area more effectively.
The typical VOA shortwave relay station is probably comparable in size to a small town. Back when we negotiated our treaties with the host countries, we always requested large amounts of land. And in fact, in Morocco, we have 1,500 acres. In Thailand, we have approximately 1,200 acres. That's a humongous amount of land, and it is necessitated by the number of antennas that we need. The radio relay stations that we build consist of perhaps a 20-acre hub, which has all of the major buildings, hub meaning the central center where all the major buildings are built, where all the actual business is conducted and the transmitter hall is located. The rest of the relay station is composed of the antenna field, which fills the remainder of that 1,500 acres. Now, the relay station itself is perhaps analogous to a small town because it has all the requirements that you would ever have in building a town.
Now, this is located far away from everywhere, so we have to create the whole infrastructure to support the station. We have to bring in the electricity, the water, and then we have to create our own sewer treatment plants and everything that goes with it.
It's an area where it's very normal to have 90-mile-per-hour winds to 100-mile-per-hour winds in the summer, very dry. Our earth is very much in demand here. There's a lot of agricultural land surrounding the site where we can't use it as borrow area. So to build this station, we had to make up man-made mounds of dirt to build on top of it. Now, that entailed approximately 86 pieces of equipment, 470 people working 20 hours a day for 7 days a week over a period of 3 years.
Now, the building itself is just one piece of a puzzle. We have other buildings to support this building, but the